In the revision session, we went over the first 4 lines of the Fatihah, if we can say Bismillah as part of the Fatihah, didn't we? Have you looked at the revision session? No? We'll go over it, okay? Because what I recommend you do is, on YouTube, Nu'man Ali Khan has like a 2.5-hour explanation of Surah Fatihah. Okay? I think they might have, like some YouTubers do, they end up breaking these long videos down into sections. Maybe it's there. But that'd be very worth going over. And I'm going to touch on some of the stuff he touches on actually in this. It's very good. Okay? So we did Alhamdulillah, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. And I said go to the open day videos as well of that. If you've not found them, please. It's about a 20-minute video I've done of each. So Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, I've done a video on that. And we spoke about that in the revision session, okay? The black burners, they did it in class, but I did it in the revision session. So please go to the revision session near the end. You can skip, if you don't want to go over just go to the last 10 minutes or something. It's got me going through it. And then, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, I did in the open day video, and we spoke about it again in the revision. And then we did Maliki Yawmiddin, and we've done Iyyaka na'budu wa Iyyaka nasta'in, speaking about the difference between noun sentences and verb sentences. Yeah, this is very important. This is the crux of the issue. That noun sentences express what? Yeah, they're fixed, permanent. That's really important for appreciating the Quran. A verb sentence expresses what? Don't jump in all at once. Yeah. It's time. It's coming in and out. It's got to be repeated. A verb, an action. For it to exist, you've got to keep doing it, haven't you? Okay? And so I gave an example, and I believe that women here understand the temporal nature of reality, that it's constantly changing every second. Because if a husband on the wedding day put the ring on her finger and says, I love you, darling, and I'm not going to tell you again, because I love you, would she accept that? Because she understands the temporal, how temporary nature is. The next second is another moment. So she needs to be told again. Does that make sense? Obviously there's a level of OCD here where, you know, come on, not every second I have to tell you, darling. You've obviously got a lot of insecurity there. But obviously, at least once a day, yeah? Would you say once a day? No. Anyway. But do you understand that that's a good example of how actions have to be repeated for us to basically believe in them? And that's because verbs constantly disappear. Every moment is a new moment. Does that make sense? So that's why Allah says, Iyyaka na'budu wa Iyyaka nasta'in. You alone we worship. We have to constantly be demonstrating our worship of Allah in order for us to really feel our relationship with Allah. And that can be what's important here. That doesn't mean something I've got to physically could be doing, so like worshipping all day, but it means a state of heart. Is that you've got to remind yourself regularly that I am a servant of Allah and this is my role, and that will keep that sort of fervour and passion with the relationship. But obviously if we say you're not doing anything, of course you won't feel something. Does that make sense? And that's in life in every matter. And that paradox we spoke about, that you have to worship Allah in order to experience Him, but you have to admit that your actions, you can't even do your action without Allah. Because you alone we worship, and you alone we ask for help. It's a paradox. Because He's asking you to do something to engage with Him and experience Him, but at the same time, you don't even do it yourself because I give you the ability to do it. It's like, that's a paradox. And that's when you experience God. When you become completely, whoa, this is... Like, and I gave you an example before about, I don't know how authentic it is, but it said, Dawood said, how can I thank you, Allah? Did we do this one? How can I thank you, Allah, when my thanking you requires me to thank you? Because you inspired me to thank you. So the very thanks that I'm thanking you with is a gift, is what you've given me anyway. So it's like if I give you a gift to thank you for something you've done for me, it's as if you've bought the gift for me to give to you to thank you for giving me. Do you understand the paradox? So Dawood says, then I can't thank you. And Allah says, now you thank me. Because you've acknowledged that your inability, but you've still got to do something. It's like, and they say that's when you experience intoxication in the divine, when you basically realize the paradox of this relationship between the eternal or the uncreated and the created being. Okay? So that's all in there in إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. So today, to finish it, because I'm not going to do the other verses in the Fatihah because they're a bit complex, some of the structures. So we're going to do this one. What is it? I think you all know it, don't you? Yeah. What's that? Oh, whoops. What's it translated as? Ihdi. What was ihdi? Guide. We saw it in the first chapter. Guide us the straight path. Now, what you notice is missing there straight away. Guide us the straight path. What's missing? Two, and that's key, that. Okay, we're going to talk about that. The first one, ihdi. What's the three-letter root? Ha, dal, ya. Okay, you can't see the ya, so don't worry about that. Okay. Hadaya, another word that comes from this word. We've said this already. Hadiyah. Hadiyat. You've got that word in Punjabi, yeah? Hadiyah means, Dilar's looking round, have we? No, I meant, you're thinking, who? No, I don't know what it is. Hadiyat, what's it mean? A gift. Do you not have that word? In Gujarati, no? Huh? What do you say in Gujarati? Teach me. Huh? A gift. To give. No, a gift. A present. What's it called? Do you speak Gujarati? No, I'm just... Hadiyah is Urdu, yeah? You speak Gujarati, don't you, Emma? So what's gift? No? You don't give gifts, do you? Never had one of those. Okay. What, sorry? Oh, you throw... present. Yeah. So... Anyway, it's, in Arabic it's hadiyah, okay? I assumed that, you know, Urdu, you go for broke with Urdu. Usually half the words I assume are Arabic. So hadiyah means a gift. So the idea is that guidance is a gift. Now, sorry, going back, you're saying, oh Allah, you alone we worship, but you alone we ask for help. Now I need to know what I need to do, isn't it? So I'm admitting I'm overwhelmed by who you are. That's the first verses of the Fatihah. Now I understand my station. Then you experience Allah, because now you're in the second person, while before you were in the third person. And we spoke about that. You can go back to that in the revision session. Now you're saying, okay, I'm going to worship you, but how do I do it? So then we have to ask Allah, guide us to what we need to do. And notice that but that guidance is not it's not necessary for Allah. He gives it as a gift to us. Okay? Okay? And then, so we say, gift us, guide us, us. Notice he's using plural. Now you're standing there in prayer. How many of you are there? One of you. Why on earth are we using the plural then? Is it because I'm so royal? You know, why are we using it? There's no one true answer here. It could be a number of factors. The ummah. So when you're making a dua, you should have not just yourself in mind. This is a principle. The Prophet ﷺ taught this, is that if you make a dua, don't just make it for yourself, make it for everybody. And let's not even limit it there, ummah, for everybody and everything. Okay? Because there's a concept in the Quran, is if it's kept general, it's general. It's as general as you can get it. Okay? And that's not to say we can draw these other meanings from it, but we always understand that the overriding principle is that it's general. Okay? So guide everyone, and that's the believer, he wants good for everybody. Yeah? So guide us. Also, we could say, did anyone have any other ideas? Did you have one there, Shane?
No, I'm just thinking, you know, when you said that it's plural and it's everyone, because whether someone believes or not, that's different, but they're all the ummah.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Consider it as an ummah.
Yeah.
I think that's such a beautiful way of, you know, putting it, that Allah puts it, that, you know, sometimes we have prejudices or we have, you know, kind of ideas that, oh, that person's a non-believer.
Yeah.
So Allah doesn't discriminate.
Yeah, and there's two categories of ummah. We've got this ummah to tabligh and ummah to ijaba, we call it in Arabic. Ummah to tabligh is the ummah that you're to deliver to. So that's considered, we're all under that, whether you're Muslim or Jew or Christian or whatever. Yeah. So we are considered one ummah. Then there's the ummah to ijaba, which means the ummah that accepted the call. Okay, so that principle's there, yeah.
No discrimination from
Yeah.
Allah. So that's really, it's really important and really
Yeah.
important.
Yeah, and also the fact that in our faith, we don't consider anyone saved until you have to die upon it. And that's a key principle. Is why, you know, the Christians, and many Christians, well, Muslims fall into it as well, but is that you're waving your flag of, you know, your ticket. I got my ticket. No one knows, okay?
That's also a Sufi way of thinking that, you know, that doesn't matter if it's a non-believer, do everything that you're a believer and you're saved.
Yeah.
So that's very...
So also then there is obviously when we, the idea is that we don't know whose prayer is going to be answered. When we're making that dua, we make it as a collective because Allah could accept anyone's dua. So that's another thing. You're not just making it yourself, assuming that your prayer is going to be answered. You make an intention that everyone's making this dua so that Allah could answer any one of our prayers. Does that make sense? Yeah. Also, the recognition that we are one body. Yeah? The creation is all interconnected. If I suffer, you suffer. Okay? And so that's the idea as well. The creation is interconnected. And so, like the Prophet ﷺ said, if one part of the body, the ummah is like one body, if one small part goes down in suffering, the rest of the body, is it white blood cells that are, I don't know, well, they rush, don't they? To heal the area, anyway, my medicine's terrible. You get the point, okay? So that's that as well. And as I said, we've drawn about 3 meanings there, but it can keep going and going and going. This is the richness of the Quran. You can't limit the meanings of Allah, okay? So you have the outward meaning, but it's permissible, as long as it's in line with the principle of the verse, to draw many, many meanings from that. Okay, now, the next thing is we said, but it doesn't say to. Usually you guide someone to something. Why? It hasn't mentioned, because there's 3 types of guiding to you can have. You guide someone to the path. So if I meet someone in the street and say, I'm a bit lost, where is, for example, Keighley Library? Will he take me there? In England, generally, someone just gives you the directions, doesn't he? In some other countries, they actually walk with you. And when I was in Morocco sometimes, I was thinking, this guy wants some money. You know, my Western, cynical mind was thinking, what's he want? But, so there's 2. There's one, he will guide you, he just point it out to you. So you're asking for that. Point it out to me so I can take that road myself. Does that make sense? There's that. Then there's guidance along the path. So we're asking Allah to guide us to the path, along the path, and then the third one is actually, which is really strange, because you'd assume that Allah would say, we would say, oh Allah, guide us to you, or guide us to paradise. Not guide us to the path. Are you following my line of thinking? Yeah, you usually want to be guided to a place. I don't say, for example, if I want to go to NatWest Bank, I say, can you show me the, Carlisle Road, was it Cavendish Street? I want to go to, I don't want the directions to Cavendish Street that's going to take me halfway. I want to know where the bank is. Does that make sense? But there's an underlying principle here is that, and I spoke about this in the revision session, you don't want Allah's saying we need guidance each part of the way. And this is a big problem. People who focus only on the goal will never be happy in life. Why? Shahida? Yeah, because it's far off. So I gave an analogy in the revision class. You've got 2 kids in the back of the car. One of the kids focusing on when are they going to get to Disney World. Is he going to enjoy the trip? He's going to be thinking, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Yeah. And then when you get him there, he's maybe enjoy himself for a bit, but then he's got the dilemma of what's next. And that's the dilemma of goals. If you focus just on the goal, you're going to be miserable till you get there. Then when you get there, then you're going to think, what have I got to do next now? I've got to set myself another goal. So you'll never be self-satisfied. Does that make sense? And we're not saying you don't goal set. You have to goal set for motivation purposes. But the other child, what does he do in the car? He looks at the goal and he goes, wow, look at this one. So he's actually, he's looking forward to the goal, but at the same time, he's enjoying where he is. It's a far nicer, healthier attitude, isn't it, to life? Okay, but because we live in a society that's very target-driven, isn't it? If you think about it, just got to pass this exam, that exam. I'm at work, we've got to make this amount and then this amount. You're never really satisfied, and you feel very frustrated because, yeah, I'm working towards this, but what am I getting out of it? And so it's as if we focus on the path, not on the goal here. Does that make sense? Yeah, because we've got to be experiencing, and that each moment is a different sort of guidance we need. Like there's an old movie called Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Do you remember that? Do you remember when Harrison Ford's got to cross over there's like basically, there's a bridge, but there's no bridge, it's invisible. So what he's got to have a leap of faith basically. He's got to go like, and he goes, oh! Like, do you remember that scene? Yeah, there's emotional charge there, yeah. That's what life's like. You don't always know what you need to do, and it's only when you actually reach out that you get your feedback, don't you? Have I done the right thing or the wrong thing? Yeah. Once you've acted, then you get some clarity whether it was a good thing to do or not a lot of the time. And so this is all in here that guide me to the path, the next basically footstep. Okay? Cool. What are you going to say, Suleika? Yeah. Yeah, and that's all alluded there, appreciating the moment. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so in the Quran we've got other verses that use we've got li, which focuses on the goal. Okay? And we've got ila, which is on the way. Okay? And then obviously we'd have, for example, ma'a for being alongside, with. Okay? So these are, if Allah had used these prepositions, it would have conveyed that meaning. But He left it so it conveys all three meanings. Does that make sense? So this is a general rule. When Allah makes something general, He emits things, it makes it hugely generalized so we can incorporate all those meanings. That's what makes it so rich. But when we translate it, it's impossible to translate that. You can't say, guide me the straight path, can you? We've got to say what? Guide me to, it usually meant. I think most of the translation to. But why did they say guide me on? Why? It's possible. Okay? Or towards, or, yeah. Okay? So that's that. Then we said sirat, which we said is path, but it's really a crossing. A path is a crossing. It's a means from one place to the end. And we said it conveys what, sirat? Wide, straight, clear, easy. Well done. Now you're right, actually, and Nu'man Ali Khan speaks about this, and I didn't really touch upon this. He says sirat has the nuance of being straight as well. Because there's a word, I can't remember off the top, I think he said surat or something, which means a sword that's straight. Because you've got different types of swords, haven't you? You've got like a bent one, you've got a straight one. So it has straight here. So if this is straight, then why on earth is this here? Yeah. And he says, and Allah knows best, this is his take. It's nice though. He says, mustaqim comes from qawama. We've looked at this, haven't we? Words that come from this root, qaf, wow, Meme. Do you remember that? It means to be straight, but it means to be upward. So what he's saying is, guide me to the path that's straight in itself, but leads me upward. And so the idea is that we're asking for a path whereby it enables us to elevate over our circumstances so we can see things from a higher perspective. Because when do we get really overwhelmed by our circumstances? When we're in it, the thick of it, don't we? And we can't seem to think, why is this happening? Can you relate to that? You're thinking, why on earth is this happening to me? Because you're in the thick of it. But if you can elevate yourself over your circumstances and see things from a higher perspective, you can see where it all fits in. Does that make sense? Okay? So that's sort of what we're asking for here. So that's very profound, isn't it, if you think about it? Sorry? Yeah, and that is, wisdom is where you can see where everything fits in. Okay?
You didn't say sirat, so when we explain that it's an easy path, so it's not necessarily easy, it's simple in a way, is it?
Yeah, but good. So, yeah, life ain't easy, is it? Okay. No, but what's it?
So we have to.
No, but we're asking, for example, because this is implied, this is a good question about, well, life, guide me to the easy path. Okay, now this has a number of, well done, I didn't even talk about this in other classes, but this alludes to a number of factors. Your heart opens up to what's good for you. That's one factor, isn't it? So, for example, they've done, like, basically, what your heart opens up to generally is what's good for you, generally. Okay, that's within reason, obviously. Someone, well, it opens up to sit on the backside and do nothing. We're not talking about that. We're talking about when you're actually striving, okay? That's one. The other thing is, in the other verse later, it says, صِرَاطَ الَّذِينَ أَنْعَمْتَ عَلَيْهِمْ, the path those of you who are blessed. Now, blessed means easy life as well. But the prophets didn't get an easy life. But it means they had internal ease. So, which is that basically you can understand why this is happening. That's ease.
Yes.
Because people who go through trauma in their life, difficulties, and suffer and can't let go of the past is because they can't make sense of why it happened. Yeah. Can you figure that? So, for example, that person's always troubled. Why did that happen to me when I was younger, or why did he do that, or she do that, and they just can't let go, isn't it? It's because they can't find the ease in it. They can't find the release because they don't understand. But when you transcend something, you can see why it's happened. So that's when you really know you've been able to let go of a situation, is where you can recall it, and you're not saying you loved it, but you can say, I understand what happened. And the real test you've actually been able to let go of it is because you don't have that emotional charge to it anymore. Some situations, some people you meet who have done something wrong to you in your life, you meet them and you just can't even go near them. It's just too much. I can't forgive them for what they've done. I can't let go of that thing. That means you've not been able to understand why that happened. You've not you've not reached a point where you've been able to transcend it. Because if you transcend something, you're no longer attached to it. Does that make sense? Yeah. And you're not trying to get rid of your past. There was this old movie I watched years ago where these couples had really bad relationships, so they went to this doctor to remove the memories from their heads. But the thing was, they physiologically still remembered it, because there's memories that are stored in the body as well. Like when you learn to ride a bike, that's called procedural memories. They're stored in your body. So when you get on a bike, even if it's 20 years later, you can still, like driving as well, you can still drive, can't you? Because your body remembers it. It's actually, so these people were bumping into one another. They didn't recognize one another, but their bodies were reacting, like going for a swing and stuff. And I don't know what, sorry, I don't know why I wanted to kill you. You can't get rid of memories. It's impossible. It will be very dangerous to take the memories. You've got to transcend them through understanding why they happen. And that's what this is all about being able to transcend them and see why, where do they fit in your life, and how have they formed you as a person and made you. Okay? And that's not a simple exercise. It's not easy to do that. I'm not saying people are failures that haven't been able to do that. There's always areas in our life we've not got over. We're all growing. Does that make sense? So the ease here is internal ease. We want basically that, okay? And we want clarity where we need to go. We want ease where we can overcome those problems. So it implies a lot of things. So this is all in the Fatihah, this, okay? Yeah, and that's, as I said, this only comes alive when we discuss it. That's why I said this is so important. We read it every day, don't we? We don't think of these things when we read the Quran, do we? Okay?